Hi everyone, welcome to USCIS Green Card. Today we have a special video because it's the first visa bulletin of the year, of the fiscal year 2026. Let's talk about the bulletin for October, which comes with a lot of news. Hi, as you know, my name is Oscar, and in this channel with Marina, we talk about green cards like EB2NAW or EB1A, in which you can be self-petitioner, and that means that you can do it without a job offer, and you can do it also without hiring a lawyer if you choose a do-it-yourself route. And we are not lawyers here. We are helping you, the do-it-yourself petitioner, through this YouTube channel, through our website, oscarsgreencard.com, and through our specialized courses, where we have step-by-step guides. But let's focus on today's topic, which is the visa bulletin. This is the first visa bulletin for the fiscal year. We have been talking about it in the channel. We had a video about EB2 recently. We tried to see what could happen, but today we bring you the actual news. And let's start by showing you where you can find this information. You can Google visa bulletin and you will get to this website, an official website from State Department, where they publish on the left side the current visa bulletin. In this case, we are in September still. And at some point in the month, in this case on a Friday, they publish the upcoming visa bulletin, in this case, October 2025. October is where the fiscal year begins for these two agencies, USCIS and State Department. We usually would expect that more changes could happen at the beginning of the year because the US has a quota-based system in which they have, for employment-based categories, they have 140,000 green cards to give each year. They cannot exceed that cap. That's why a few years ago we talked about how they were depleting the quota for the EB2 category. Then a few days later, it happened for EB1 and EB3. And now at the beginning of the fiscal year, those quotas are renewed. And so we are typically optimistic, although the other day I was saying, well, in the last few years, we didn't have a big change in October, but we will see that at least this year we have some positive news here. So once you find this website, what we do here is we open both September and October in two different tabs, so we can easily go from one to the other and we can compare and comment on them. And then at the end, we usually show you the historic movement, so you can see the big picture, not only these 2 months. Okay, so let's start with September and October. So in the visa bulletin, all I did is I went down to employment-based preference categories. We don't talk about family green cards in this channel that much, so we are going to focus on employment, and specifically EB1 and EB2. So I have both of them here, and now if you are new, you may be wondering why table A and table B. There are two tables because table A is final action dates. That's the most important table for all petitioners. That's the table that really tells you if there is a visa number available for you. We were talking about those quotas, and that's what that table tells you. Based on when you file your initial case, your I-140 step, do these agencies have a visa number available for you? In other words, will you be able to finish the process soon, or you still have to wait? That's what table A really tells you. No matter if you're doing the process from abroad with a consular processing, or you're doing this in the US with adjustment of status, table A is really the most important. But if you're in the US, table B, which is dates for filing, may also be important for you, because at certain parts of the year, particularly the beginning of the fiscal year, so we expect that this is going to be the case now in October, they let you file your adjustment of status based on table B, which is more advantageous in terms of dates, like we will see in a second, for petitioners. So that's why at the beginning of the fiscal year, we pay attention to table B, not only table A. So let's start with table A first. We have for EB1, which is the first row, most countries have a C. A letter C means current. And that means is the best you can see in a table like this. It means that there is no wait time. So in September, EB1 for most countries had a letter C, best situation, and China and India had November 2022 and February 2022 respectively. So China and India usually suffer more from backlogs because there's also a country cap that affects those countries with more population and more immigration to the US. So let's see how EB1 changes in October. So in October, EB1 is still current for most countries. And now China has a date of December 2022. Remember that it had November 2022. So it advanced 1 month and 1 week. So at least it's something that I'm sure all these Chinese applicants were really hoping for, because their days were not moving for a long time. And unfortunately for India, EB1 is still stuck in February 15, 2022. Okay, and India, if I'm not mistaken, hasn't moved in EB1 for the whole fiscal year 2025. And I'm sure they were really hoping to see some advancements now that the new fiscal year starts, but unfortunately, that's not the case. So let's see EB2. EB2 is the second row here, and we had a date of September 1st, 2023 for most applicants. And that means that only those who filed their case, their I-140, before September 1st, 2023 could advance to the end of the process. So otherwise, they would still have to wait. And now in October, what we see is that we are moving 3 months to the 1st of December, 2023. And this is great news, really, because I was personally not expecting a big movement. I was expecting something much smaller, if anything. So the fact that we are moving 3 full months is absolutely great. China had a date of 15th of December 2020, and it does move a few months as well to April 1st, 2021. And India also moves a little bit from January 2013. It's a terrible date. It's a long wait for them to April 2013. Remember that Mexico and Philippines, they are basically moving in employment base together with rest of world. So that's why I usually don't comment on them. And even though I don't really talk about EB3 and other categories, we have to say that EB3 rest of world is not moving in October, and China and India are indeed moving in EB3. So you can take a look if you are interested in those categories. You can take a look yourself. We are now going to move to table B and see how that's moving, and see how can you know if you are hoping to do an adjustment of status, how can you know if that's the table you really have to pay attention to. And actually, that's the first thing we're going to see. When you scroll down to table B, you will see this link here that tells you, if you want to know which chart will be used, click on this link. This is a USCIS website, and you open that. And what we see is that right now they have not updated that website for October, for the next month, but we are going to see something that reads, for employment-based preference filings, use, and they will tell you what chart. Based on what has happened over the last years, for employment-based categories, they will most likely tell you to use table B, dates for filing. And that would be the best situation. I think that's going to be the case, but you have to come here in a few minutes, in a few hours, once they decide to update this, and verify that what I'm telling you is correct. So if this says table B, then table B becomes very relevant, and that's why I'm going to comment on it today. I scroll down to table B here, I scroll down here. So let's see. EB1 was current for most countries, January 23 for China, April 22 for India. And we see advancements here. EB1 China moves to May 23, and India is still stuck in April 22. And that's similar to what happened in table A. No movements for India, but some movement for China. So the same thing happened in table B. EB2 moves as well. We had a date of 15th November 2023, which hadn't moved for a few months in the Visa Bulletin. It was irrelevant because we couldn't use it anyway. But now it moves to July 2024. And that's how many months? 8 months of movement, which is great news. Just think of how many more people will be able to file their I-485 packages, adjustment of status, if they let you use table B. And that's a big if, but I think that's going to be the case. You need to verify it, clicking that link that we saw earlier. In a few minutes, when they update it, confirm that. And if that's the case, it means that in October, if you are hoping to do an adjustment of status, as long as your priority date is earlier than 15th of July 2024 in EB2, you'll be able to submit your adjustment of status. And why is that so good news for many people? Because when you do that, you may be able to also apply for a temporary EAD card to work or and a travel document to travel outside and come back to the US. So that makes a big difference to many people. Also, there's some other things related to it. For example, you get a little bit more protection in terms of being accruing unlawful presence or not. So those are things that you can discuss with an immigration lawyer if you are in a tricky situation in terms of visa status. But overall, these are all great news that I wanted to point out. And one thing I usually tell you is to check the end of the visa bulletin to see if there are important news that you should know about, because sometimes they use the end of the visa bulletin to let us know about retrogression potentially coming up or any other important things. So I checked for October. There's no big important information for the kind of audience we get, which is EB1A, EB2NAW interested people. They talk about religious workers and they talk about special immigrant visas, but I don't see any important note for us as a community of do-it-yourself petitioners. I don't see anything really important. And so a few days ago, we were talking about how EB2 visa numbers were gone for fiscal year 2025. Same thing happened for EB1 and EB3. And what does that mean for you? Well, if you were at the very end of your process, then yeah, you shouldn't expect to have an interview in the month of September. But however, once the month starts, the month of October starts, the new fiscal year starts, and those interviews will resume. So they will be able to use visa numbers again because they have that quota, that fresh quota coming in. So they can schedule those interviews and they can issue visas abroad if we're talking about a consular process, or they can adjust status in USCIS centers as well. So overall, I think we should be quite happy with what we are seeing here. And before we go to see the historical trends, I want Marina to tell us a little bit more about the resources that we offer for you if you are thinking about starting this process yourself.
Let's take a quick break to tell you all about the resources that we offer in our websites. Our website, allscarsgreencard.com, is the main portal to access all of our resources in one place. From there, you can go to our specific websites about the EB1A and EB2NAW categories. There is a lot of information about these two categories. You can read our latest posts, learn from the success stories of our course members, and stay up to date with the recent news about these green cards. But what we recommend the most is our courses. We have 4 different courses. Let's start with the 2 courses focused on the petition writing. We have one for EB1A and another one for EB2NAW category. These are focused on teaching you how to prepare a good petition step by step. We tell you everything about the requirements of each category, how to craft recommendation letters, and we talk about the forms and the fees. In every lesson, you can write your questions down so you're not left with any doubts. Also, in the EB2NAW course, we meet once a month, so we can answer your question face to face and learn from each other. On top of these 2 courses, we offer an additional course about responding to a request for evidence in the EB2NAW category, and another one to teach you the requirements of each category and how to build your profile. So after everything I've told you, what are you waiting for? Join us, we learn together.
Well, thank you, Marina. And we are back to talk about the historical data. You know that we love numbers, we love to plot things. And so usually I share this at the end of each video where I compile what has been happening in each month of each visa bulletin. And in the month of October, we added the data point here where we are seeing how things look a little bit better, but historically, and this is what I wanted to show you, historically, we are at a tough time, really. We are at a time where we almost reached 2 years of wait time in the previous visa bulletin, based on September 2025, and in October, I think we are at about 22 months of wait time based on that October visa bulletin. This is for EB2, which includes EB2NAW for rest of world, and you can see that things really started going south at the end of 2022. situation stable throughout 2024, and then mid 2024 things got worse, and that's where we are right now. If we look at adjustment of status, the situation is similar, but there are periods of time where things get better. At the beginning of each fiscal year, we see these kind of drops, like this one here, or this one here, or right now we're seeing this one here, where they allow us to use table B instead of table A, and that causes a jump, an improvement in the wait times for those of you who are hoping to do an adjustment of status. So the best time to start the process is now, as soon as possible. Yes, we are seeing reduced approval rates. For now, they are slight reduction of approval dates compared to previous months, but we are seeing a weakness there. However, the more you wait to file your I-140 process, the longer you delay getting your priority date. And your priority date is your ticket in line when we're talking about visa bulletin. So the more you postpone that, the longer your process will eventually take. So my recommendation is, if you already made your mind, if you know that you have the credentials for either an EB2 NAW or an EB1A, you should really be diligent, work on your case, spend time, spend effort. I know it takes a lot of effort. I've done it myself, but do that and submit as soon as possible with a good case so you can get this process going for yourself and you put your foot on the ground and you are in line. So I hope this video was good, that you like it, that, finally we get some good news, which is excellent. And I will see you in the next video. Good luck.